When I started to see relief in my own life, and really started to use these practices that I was learning through my job in my own life, I started to see a real difference in my health.
Do you mind to share what were you suffering with?
Very early on, was diagnosed with IBS and lactose intolerance, and that was it. So really, no tests done, just pure symptom, and that's kind of an umbrella. Just don't drink dairy or consume dairy anymore, and be on your way. Or throughout the years, I was also told that it was possibly in my head, and that this wasn't really a true illness, and that it was something more psychological.
Yeah,
I
that's
do
often
understand that,
answer.
yeah.
Wow.
So really just a long-term digestive issues, just never really felt good, always felt a little bloated, just not really thriving, tired, not sleeping well. Just a really long history of a vast array of digestive issues that ebbed and flowed and really wasn't given any answers to. I was offered pain medications and different prescription medications that really, I think, did more harm than good. Antibiotics, which kind of, destroyed the gut even more. I came to find out later, but you want to trust in those people that they have your best interest at
Of
heart,
course,
and they know what they're doing. And I realized that during those times, gut health was a very new thing.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Third Chances. My today guest is Cindy Wiedoff. She is founder of Healthy Intuitive Nutritional Therapy, and that says it all. She is known as the Digestive Detective. I love that name. She works with clients one-on-one and group settings in Portland, Oregon metro area, and offer nationwide virtual nutrition and health coaching to help clients find root cause solutions to chronic conditions. Cindy specializes in gut health and uses food-based nutrition to help manage diabetes, cardiovascular conditions, including high blood pressure and high cholesterol, autoimmune conditions, neurological conditions, and much more. So I think we can all agree that this is much needed work today, because that's sadly the 99% of public is dealing at least with one of those issues. Cindy, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to
I
be here.
forgot to click so we can see you. I'm so sorry. Where are you calling from today?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
That sounds cold. It's January. It's very cold in Florida, so I can only imagine there.
We're having a sunny day, which is rare for the winter time, so we're
Good.
enjoying the sun despite the cold.
Good, great.
Yes.
So I understand you are in a very area that I'm interested in, and that's why all this podcast started to make people aware that there are other solutions than just doctors, prescriptions and surgeries and but medications. And so I definitely want to go there, but let me start first with you. Have you always wanted to be in a health space, or did it come out from something that happened in your previous life? What was your dream when you were a child? What did you want to be when you grow up?
I wanted to be a rock and roll star. I was really into drama and music and theater,
Oh,
and thought that, that would be something I would pursue.
yeah.
But I actually ended up as a elementary middle school teacher.
Oh, so what happened with rock and roll? Why?
A little unrealistic,
Oh, wow.
conventional, parenting, and just I'm from the Midwest, so you are on a strict course for success.
Mm.
And unless I think you show real promise and something's real special, I don't think you're really going to be discovered in Wisconsin.
Oh,
So
oh, dream killer.
a little bit.
Yeah. But that's fun. That's fun. And so how long
Yes.
have you been teacher?
So I was a teacher for about 10 years before I changed into the health field. But I've always been someone who has been a seeker. And I was brought up with a grandmother who gardened. So
Yeah.
she lived with us and we had an enormous garden, and that was a big influence on me. Despite my dreams of the rock and roll life, I was really interested and submersed in gardening and
Mhm.
self-sustainability and nourishment and being able to provide for yourself. Um, just a real healthy influence very early on.
So did
So,
you understand at that time that you can influence many things with your health, with the proper food and really like the whole food that you were growing in the garden?
I don't think so. I think it was more just I liked the way that food tasted a lot
Yeah.
better. And I had a lot of homemade food growing up, and that was very spoiling. So when I went out into the real world on my own,
Mm.
and wasn't able to quite do that anymore, being in college and in a small apartment, and I really missed that and
Mm.
cherished that time and really honored the tradition of having someone show you how to do those things, providing love through food,
Yeah.
time that it takes and the effort, and having someone explain all that to me was wonderful.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think the appreciation, of course, as well, because many kids grow up knowing that food comes from the supermarket.
that's
They
right.
they don't understand the whole connection of what we have in our hands and what we can cultivate in ours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very valuable skill and lesson to learn early on and kind of set the stage of what you desire and what you want for yourself later on. Even though I didn't realize it then,
Mm.
it really did impact me.
Did you have any possibility to impact the children that you were teaching in this
I
field?
did. I
Yeah.
did. And I think that's where the desire to really focus on foods began.
Mhm.
So I was a little disheartened by the school system that was in Oregon. I moved to Oregon. And so when I really started to submerge myself in the schools there, it was a wonderful opportunity, but I found that there was a lot missing.
Mm.
And there was a lot of kids who needed a non-conventional approach to learning.
Yeah.
And so I opened up a school for pre-K through third grade, and it was a multi-age school. So I had employees working underneath me for the preschool, and then I taught a multi-age classroom for K through third grade.
Oh, wow.
And that really gave me the opportunity to write some curriculum, really establish some food ethics. A lot
Mhm.
of these kids were not used to vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oregon has a short grow season.
Mhm.
And so I was bringing my own lunch every day, and they were so curious about it and they wanted to try everything that I had. And some of them just had never even
Been
seen
exposed to it.
vegetables. That's right,
Mm.
besides
Mm.
just, a cucumber or a carrot. So it was very experiential for them.
How sad,
And
isn't
really,
it?
it
Mm.
is. But
Yeah.
also, I just feel so grateful that I could provide that to kids who otherwise, who knows what kind of experience that they would have had in school. We did a lot of outdoor education. That was part of my major that I graduated with in education. And
Mhm.
so we did a lot of outdoor exploring, time on the beach, visiting gardens. Um,
Fantastic. Yeah.
yeah,
What did you experiment as a feedback? Because it's one thing kids curious in discovering new things that they may have been not exposed to, but there's also a lot of picky eaters because they don't have that lifestyle at home, so they are used to certain style or type of foods only. Did you have any like resistance when they were looking at something they never saw before, maybe?
Well, I approach it as try something once, at least.
Yeah.
Your palate is developed very early on, I discovered, and can be spoiled to a certain extent where the standard American diet is very oversalted, oversugared, and highly processed.
Yeah.
So their palate, I think, was maybe expecting one thing, but trying these foods was a whole new experience for them.
Mhm.
So I just would put it out there and let them go at their own pace, their own desire, their own curiosity, and never put any pressure on it. And in fact, it was them wanting to try things that I brought instead of the other way around.
I love it.
And we had a bearded dragon, which is a reptile, as like a class pet. And I would provide that animal a lot of fresh organic fruits and vegetables every day. So that was like they would start cutting that up for the pet and
Mhm.
really just kind of get exposed that way, and then brought on a natural curiosity to try those things.
Oh, I love that. That's a good teacher in you. It's really good. Like good example. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Make it a play, make it
that's
a
right.
game more than pushing something on. It's really disheartening when you see uh how the diets look like for a lot of children, and especially when in public schools and they are being provided so-called food, but it's not nutritional whatsoever. It's really basically super processed compared to other countries I can compare because I came from Europe. So you had private, you open your own private school so you can do that. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
Love it. Yeah.
it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, well, how did you start connecting the dots that the food has major role in health of not only kids but every adult, every person?
A personal experience started the way I felt uh, early on. I actually became a vegetarian at 16, which
Hmm.
is kind of a rare thing in the 80s
Yeah.
and in the Midwest. So, but just a desire for maybe innately wanting foods that made me feel good and energized and were colorful and um, just fresh and nutrient dense. I think maybe that was the early gardening experience that was kicking in a little later on that this is what I'm gravitating toward. This is what I like for myself. I was always naturally curious about healthy eating and desired foods that were not only healthy, but prepared properly,
Yeah.
meaning they weren't a mega farm. They weren't a mass produced meat or vegetable or what have you. I really appreciated small scale. And then going to a college, which was a liberal arts college, very small, but with an emphasis on environmental education, really expanded my knowledge base and my view of what health, what the environment, what lifestyle should look like for my desire.
Yeah.
So really the doors opened and my eyes opened, and I could never go back after college
I'm
experiences.
just
And
thinking about your grandma, how she probably didn't even know how influential this could be for your life, what she exposed you at the beginning of when you were a kid with the garden and this direct exposure to growing food and appreciating it. It's yeah, it's like with fine wine. When you start understanding wine, you can go back to garbage. It's just you will crave the quality stuff that you were exposed to. So when did you how did you make the cross? Because you were enjoying your teaching.
so I sold my school in Oregon, and my husband and I moved to Hawaii. He had a job
Oh,
opportunity, And so we sold our home, I sold my business, and I was 6 months pregnant, and we made the jump to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And after the birth of my daughter, I was submersed in um, careers or jobs that were medical related. So I worked for several different types of practitioners, naturopathic doctors, integrative medicine doctors, autism spectrum specialist doctor. And throughout the years, just really started to understand that what I was brought up on and some of my own health issues, especially digestively, that were never really resolved or properly addressed, that there was other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Naturopathic care, more holistic medicine. I call it traditional medicine. I know that it's referred to as alternative, but to me, it's more traditional. It's going
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
using modalities that have been used for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And really, the do no harm first, I found to be in those types of practices rather than conventional medicine. And so when I started to see relief in my own life, and really started to use these practices that I was learning through my job in my own life, I started to see a real difference in my health.
Do you mind to share what were you suffering with?
Very early on, was diagnosed with IBS and lactose intolerance, and that was it. So really, no tests done,
Mm.
just pure symptom, and that's kind of an umbrella. Just don't drink dairy or consume dairy anymore, and be on your way. Or throughout the years, I was also told that possibly in my head, and that this wasn't really a true illness,
Mm-hmm.
and that it was something more psychological. Um,
Yeah,
I
that's
do
often
understand that,
answer.
yeah.
Wow.
So really just a long-term digestive issues, just never really felt good, always felt a little bloated,
Mm.
just not really thriving, tired, not sleeping well. Just a really long history of a vast array of digestive issues that ebbed and flowed and really wasn't given any answers to. I was offered pain medications
Yeah.
and different prescription medications that really, I think, did more harm than good. Antibiotics, which kind of,
Yeah.
destroyed the gut even more. I came to find out later, but you want to trust in those people that they have your best interest at
Of
heart, and they
course.
and
Yeah.
they know what they're doing. And I realized that during those times, gut health was a very new thing. And
That's true. Yeah. Well,
um,
unfortunately, it still is, even though the awareness is huge. But most traditional medical doctors, they don't spend any time on nutrition. The food is really 99% of our health. It's just mind-boggling that, like you said, we call this alternative when it should be the most natural and traditional approach, to go there first and see what we are doing to our body, and then see if it needs medical intervention, if nothing else works. But yeah, we go the other way around. So,
yeah,
but
it's quite interesting.
when you were in Hawaii and you started working with these more natural and holistic doctors, but so it was the curiosity for you to even learn about your own issues, or was it just natural leaning towards that field for you?
Um, it was a bit more personal. As my daughter got a little older, we realized that she was having some health issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
So not only was I curious about my own issues, it was really trying to resolve some things for her that were never resolved or really even paid attention to.
Yeah.
We found out later, is sensory processing disorder is what she was diagnosed with. So she was very fussy. beyond just the colicky baby, um, really almost angry a
Mm.
lot of the time. And I think it was a bit of digestive issues that she was having also. And so not getting answers from doctors, just kind of brushed off, and
Yeah.
that, I'm a worrying new mom and that she's just colicky and it'll pass. It didn't pass.
Oh,
And so I decided that I needed to do some detective work myself
yeah.
and really try to get to the root of what was going on with her, and just intuitively knew that things weren't normal
Yeah.
and this wasn't just the natural process kids go through.
Even though you were first time mom, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the mom knows. How did it look for you? That did you start like researching stuff or did you start seeking answers elsewhere?
Both. I did a lot of research. I spoke with a lot of different practitioners, midwives,
Hmm.
and really just kind of noticing, going to mother baby groups, that she was off the charts compared to a lot of other kids. We could rarely stay in the
Yeah.
circles because she was so fussy, and just
Hmm.
really natural curiosity of, let's figure this out. The internet, was really just coming online. So I felt fortunate to have some resources at my fingertips, reading books,
Hmm.
and really just picking the brain of some of the physicians that I was working with. And then when I started working with the autism specialist physician, that really opened my eyes. I'd never even heard of autism at that point.
Yeah.
This is 2008, 2009. And that was really just coming on the scene, I think, of people labeling that, diagnosing that. And I felt fortunate that she wasn't nonverbal, which a lot of the kids in the clinic I worked at were.
Yeah.
And but I saw that through food, this doctor was able to, and a little bit of gut health um, healing, that she was able to get many of these nonverbal kids talking. Um,
Isn't it fascinating when not too many people know how gut and brain are closely connected with each other?
yes,
Because
yeah.
you would think this is a neurological issue, but it's not. It's really everything is interconnection. And that's why it's so important to look at the body as a whole instead of just picking up pieces of whatever issue arises. Wow, this is fascinating. Did you find effective solutions for your daughter and yourself?
I did. One of the things that we did right away was removed wheat and most gluten from her
Mhm.
diet, and that made a big difference. She wasn't quite so fussy all the time. Her bowel
Mhm.
movements improved. A lot of the personality traits, I will call them, mellowed out. She became a little easier going. Um, some of the ADHD type personality traits started to calm down a little bit. Um, just really making sure her diet was clean, avoiding processed foods, avoiding colors, preservatives that are in just about everything, and a lot of processed baby foods and snacks and things. We just avoided that and stuck with real food, and was just very careful on introducing one thing at a time for an extended period of time,
Mhm.
um, to see how she would react, and to see how well is she sleeping, how fussy is she becoming, is she lethargic, is she energetic,
Yeah.
um, all those pieces.
This is important for people to hear because it takes really detective work, like you said, to figure out, eliminate, try to introduce, sit on it for a little while so it can actually really have the reaction of the body and really pinpoint things that, who has time for that? Of course, new moms are exhausted and overwhelmed, but that's why people like you came to play because you have done the work and you have the experience yourself what it takes to actually figure out where the issue may be. So going forward, you are working with different practitioners. How did you become a coach yourself?
So I didn't end up becoming a coach until we relocated back to Oregon. My daughter was in kindergarten then and really just starting her school career. And I had a neighbor, actually, a new neighbor approach me, and we were talking about health and food and how I was really fascinated by this, but I didn't know what I wanted to do next. Um, didn't want to go back into the school district per se and start teaching again after having the experience of running my own school. I just felt like it was a step backwards to go back into
Oh,
the
it's
school
hard,
district as an
definitely, to have a
employee.
boss and not liking stuff and have,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
following a curriculum that I
Right.
didn't agree with.
Mm.
And so this neighbor suggested she was doing nutritional therapy. And I had never heard of that. I'd heard of dietitians and nutritionists
Mm-hmm.
and naturopaths, but I'd never heard of nutritional therapy. So I was fascinated by that. And I started to investigate what type of school I might want to go back to. I'm like, this is a perfect time. My daughter's in school most of the day. This gives me an opportunity to explore what I want to do next with my life. And so I looked at it was then called the Naturopathic College of Medicine here in Oregon, a very famous school. It is now the National University of Naturopathic Medicine. So it's changed hands since then and
Mm-hmm.
became a university instead of a college. But decided that the 4-year program for me and still paying off undergraduate debt, excuse me, was overwhelming. I didn't want to invest again in a 4-year plus program, even though naturopathy and naturopathic medicine was something that maybe I had desired. I decided that I needed to go smaller scale. I wanted to have the opportunity, the time to still focus on my daughter that was somewhat special needs. She really needed somebody to be there, to make food for her, to pick her up after school, to deal with some of the personalities that the school had to encounter as a
Mm.
result of her sensory processing. And very sensitive, didn't like to wear clothes. You know, she had all these personality traits that I really felt I still needed to be there
Yeah.
as her mom, almost full time. So I found the Nutritional Therapy Association. It was mostly virtual online, and you were required to go to Olympia, Washington, which is about 3.5 hours from me, once a month to do this special type of testing that I learned, neurolingual testing, and we can talk about that a little later, and more of the functional approach, the hands-on approach, to gather together, to have community. So you were required to go there many times over the course. And I really found my people there. It was a community, it was a group, it was my tribe that I had been looking for.
Yes,
Um,
that's
every
neat.
everyone was there because they all had their own issues. They were all
Mhm.
trying to heal themselves. They were all people who had been kind of flapping in the wind with diagnoses, but no resolve.
Yeah.
So I knew that was the program for me, and I dove right in.
That's another bonus that you realize that you found your crowd, you found your like-minded people. That's also important because then you support each other and you kind of understand each other. Yeah, it's so today you get what is it, a certification? Yeah.
Yes. So I became certified. You have to take exams and do functional testing, and you become certified as a nutritional therapist or a functional nutritional therapist. So
Mm-hmm.
you can add on the functional piece, which is just a little bit more intense and hands-on learning.
How would you describe what it involves? What your work involves?
So nutritional therapy is about the foundations of health. You learn that health begins with these specific foundations, and the foundations are like the cornerstone of everything else that you're going to be doing as far as helping clients, um, addressing issues, any health condition that comes to you, it's dealing with the foundation, using food, nutrient dense food on top of it, not just any food, but using the most nutrient dense whole food, not denatured food, not bits, boneless, skinless. It's using the whole chicken, using the organs. I know that's not a real popular thing here in America anymore, but really about using the whole animal.
That was very
Um,
natural for me where I grew up. Yeah.
it was for me, but being a vegetarian, I was like, whoa, this is not exactly what I'm used to. But I think it helped me understand what true health was. It isn't a denatured pick and choose parts and only eating vegetables, only not limiting, I guess. It's more of, it's not limiting your diet to
Mhm.
just one specific food type, but really branching out to what your body needs. And everyone is different, is bio-individual. So it's very much geared toward the person. We all have specific needs. So there isn't just going to be one diet type that is going to fit everyone's needs. And that's what I think found so fascinating and what I think is why I found the true path to health, in my opinion, is because using these foundations, using a nutrient-dense diet, eating seasonally, rotationally, incorporating different foods at different times goes back to a more traditional style of eating, or, I would say even more of a European style of eating, where you should sit for a long period of time. Food should not be a 20-minute experience. Eating lunch should not be a 20-minute experience.
Or eating sandwich in the car while driving.
That's right, or in front of the computer or in front of the TV.
Yeah, that's interesting what you just said, because I remember so many people telling me that they have issue with certain foods here and then they go to Europe and they didn't have those same issues there. And of course it
Very
could be
true.
because, we have more banned ingredients in foods here than are banned in Europe. Uh, it's more farm to table than here. Yes, there's a lot of processed food here, but also I think what you just said, the whole lifestyle that is with the food. It's the family sitting around the table, taking their time, chewing, talking, enjoying the flavors, being exposed. I remember I have seen young families that, the little kid, they will throw something on that the high seat and it's all on. I couldn't understand because I was brought up in Europe. They wouldn't get the kid the plate. And I know a little kid is messy and everything, but you don't put the food on the table or that little table. That was for me was so shocking because I was like, you are teaching by example. If you eat around the table with everybody, and of course little kid needs maybe different food than the adults are eating, but still it's the culture around the food is being taught as well. Like you were exposed when you were little with different foods than just something from the box. And I think that's very underestimated by today's world, that people don't even think about these things, and it's important. It's part of it. So when you don't have similar reaction in other countries, it's also because you are relaxed, you are there on vacation, you enjoy yourself, you are not stressing in front of the TV to get something in you, you don't even think about what you're eating, and it's causing you eating in stress, basically, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a big piece of functional nutrition is how you are eating. It isn't always about what you're eating. It's about how you are eating it. If you're hurried, if you're not relaxed, if you're not chewing properly, you can have the best diet in the world, I tell
Mm-hmm.
my clients, but if you're not doing it properly, relaxed, then you're not digesting. Digestion has to begin in the brain, You need to be parasympathetic, relaxed. If you're not relaxed, the digestion process does not begin. You're stuck in fight or flight, and priority is given to different parts of the body. It isn't the digestive system.
And it's tense. Everything is tense and
Right.
stressful. And as we know, stress can cause a lot of health issues on its own.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
When someone comes to you for help, uh, how does it look like? What do you where do you start? What do you talk about? What do you approach first?
So each client that comes to me, for the most part, I offer a variety of services, but really foundationally, I look at what they're eating, how they're eating, their lifestyle. So before they even see me, they're given a health questionnaire, they are given a medical history form,
Mhm.
and a food and mood journal to fill out for 3 to 5 days. And what I tell them is fill this out with a regular day in mind. Don't make it your best diet. Don't make it,
Right.
something different other than how you are naturally eating and drinking. And what the form does is has them physically write down what they are eating and drinking, but how they are feeling and what their bowel movements look like
Mhm.
as a result. So kind of giving them a preemptive connection, I think people see right away when they're filling out this food mood journal, which most people don't keep track of what they're eating or
Yeah.
how they're feeling after. They maybe start to see some patterns or just some self-realization, I think happens when they're doing that. But not
Yeah.
only that, but it provides for me such a wonderful, holistic, complete background of the person, their health history, maybe where they were raised, how they were raised. There's lots of environmental factors that can take play in people's health, whether they've traveled, exposure to things,
Mhm.
gives me a clear picture to evaluate before I even see them in person. So by the time they come to me, I already have kind of a picture of maybe some things that I see they could benefit from, maybe some issues that I feel need to be addressed, but also some of the things that they're already doing great, that they're
Mhm.
doing right, and they don't need to change, and they really need to be commended for coming to see me in general. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're aware that they want to do better for whatever reason. And so really just giving them kudos that, hey, you made the first step. You're doing lots of things right. The fact that you're here speaks volumes. And I think that starts our relation off on the right foot.
That was
They come.
actually my next question. So, what triggers someone to start looking at their food as a possible solution or problem with whatever issues they may be dealing with?
I don't even know if it's always someone wants help with food or realizes they need help with nutrition. They're dealing with a chronic problem,
Mhm.
whether it's autoimmune, digestively, hormonally. There's lots of issues that people come to me, I think, to have addressed that they don't really realize that the diet plays such a big role
Yeah.
in these areas, their conditions. So that's a really eye-opening experience for them. But I also think that people think nutritionists or maybe dietitians are looking for perfection. And so that might keep them from coming to see someone like me,
Yeah.
where I really feel like I'm there to meet them wherever they are in their health journey. I don't have expectations other than the fact that they're committed to the process, to the program, to making some health choices. Many of it is lifestyle changes. And I don't think everyone realizes how much your lifestyle affects your health. So it
Yeah.
isn't just food and nutrition, but a whole big package of mental health and lifestyle and the food component.
So, in other words, it's not for somebody to get on diet, to be very restrictive, or to go lose weight. Of course, that may be a nice benefit by that, but it's not the goal, I'm assuming, because the goal is to look at how body respond to food and what can be adjusted to complement the body's healing systems, correct?
Yes, I do have people who come looking to lose weight or get blood sugar,
Mm-hmm.
insulin resistance, diabetes too under control. But the weight loss is a result of making these changes. It isn't necessarily what I focus on.
Right.
Calorie restrictions, it's about quality, not quantity. It's about how you're eating. It's about your lifestyle. It's about what you're putting in your mouth. Is it going to help you or is it going to hinder you? So it's changing the mindset, I think, of people or unlearning what we've learned as a American society
Yeah.
of what food and health is. It isn't what we do 3 times a day when we sit down at the table. It's a big picture of how we're living, what we're supporting, and the foods that we do choose to eat.
How we sleep. What
Exactly.
else do we do? Yeah. This is fascinating because I bet you have things or two to say about the conventional diet advices that are flowing out and people fall for. I just recently met someone, and let's just be clear, I'm very against medical solutions to everything right away. And this is a lady who had multitude of problems, and she just shared with me that she got on Ozempic, and she was so thrilled that she lost 35 pounds, costing her $1,000 a month. And she's still taking it, even though, she doesn't need lose weight anymore. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, and what else does it bring with it? Why not do it naturally when it's in your control? You don't have to inject yourself with something that is not even meant for this, even though I know there is a controversy around that whole thing. But it's just, we are so trained to look for fast solutions, quick fix. I'm really excited because I see many people are taking more control over their health and they are more aware that it's a process. And if you messed up your lifestyle up till now and it's been 50 years, then it's probably not going to happen overnight that you will be feeling better tomorrow. But it's never too late to start turning it around and really pay attention to what is causing all my issues and what is in my control to do about it. That's
Absolutely.
that's why I love what you do, because you help people to kind of get aware. We may have to look at this and we may have to look at this and this may influence this, and suddenly they start getting all the picture and putting the dots together.
Absolutely. Just nutritional therapy being the foundational approach. I look at the nutrient dense food. I look at how are they digesting. I look at their blood sugar regulation. Are they hungry all the time? Do they get tired right after they eat? There's lots of clues that our bodies give us. What kind of fats are you consuming? That has been a very big deal in the news and really kind of the highlight lately is what kind of fats to eat. What's the truth, about these things? But we're also finding that minerals. We live in an environment now where our soil is rapidly depleted of minerals, and so our food is actually also depleted as well. So what used to be very nutrient dense produce is actually much weaker. They're finding with tests that it's just not the same food that we were consuming 20, 30 years ago. And so looking at people's mineral content, are they using iodized salt as opposed to a sea salt? So very basic things that people could change to make drastic differences in their lives. A big piece for nutritional therapy in this foundation is hydration. Majority of people, just about everyone that comes to see me, is not drinking enough water.
Mm.
It should be half your body weight in ounces.
Mm.
So if you're 120 pounds, you do the math. You should be drinking at least 60 ounces of water throughout the day. When you
Yeah.
sleep and you wake up in the morning, people usually go for diuretics like tea and coffee, when really the first thing we should be doing is drinking water. You've been fasting and basically waking up dehydrated because you've slept hopefully 8 to 9 hours. And so the first thing we should do for our tissues, for our brain, for our organs is to drink water.
Mm.
So people don't realize that that hydration piece is such a big part of nutritional therapy. It sounds so simple, but honestly, we're really a dehydrated society. And then every time that you drink the coffee or you're drinking soda, caffeinated beverages, it actually makes you even more dehydrated. So you need to drink even more water. One thing I tell my clients as well, this is a big piece, just about everyone who comes through the door, do not drink a lot of water when you eat.
Yeah.
So what's typical when you go to a restaurant is they're constantly refilling your water glass and you have this giant ice water sitting next to you the entire time. And what that does is it dilutes your natural saliva, the enzymes to help you break down those foods.
Mhm.
So you're kind of washing away all the wonderful things that the digestive system does just by consuming large amounts of water while you eat. You should sip a little bit, I understand here and there, but the majority of water should be consumed between meals.
Yeah. And it's really
Many
not
people don't know
easy
that.
with all the today advice that is floating on everywhere. Very conflicting, very opposite opinions from dietitians and from nutritionists and doctors and other specialists that are specializing in this. It's really confusing for people to find the right answer that works for them, because you can go all over the place, low fat, low carbs, high carbs, protein based, the keto, the this and that, and it's just really basics, like you say, the fundamental of the food that was meant to be. And I think we live in society that get used to processing everything so much that we don't even remember what the real food really was somewhere at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of these things are just free tips. It doesn't cost you anything to consume your water in between meals or to start your day with drinking a glass of water. Um, and so I really just focus on that foundational piece first before we dive into anything else. Um, these health questionnaires help me determine, have you had your gallbladder removed? A keto diet is not going to be an acceptable diet for somebody, even if that's what they really desire. If they have no gallbladder, which breaks down your fat, a
Mhm.
keto diet can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
So each person that comes to me is treated as an individual. I want to look at the holistic person, not just the parts, and really help them understand the path to true health isn't necessarily jumping on one type of fad diet,
Okay.
that it's doing these foundational pieces first and really deciding what's for you, what is going to help you achieve your health goals.
I'm loving that you just said that, because I have seen people advising others about things that I consider dangerous, because it is like one generic advice towards everybody, and they don't know what medical issues they already may be dealing with. And like you said, even the perfectly healthy diet may be dangerous to somebody. That speaks volume about why it's really not waste of time and money to speak with someone who spent years, first of all, researching on her own for her own health and her child, but also learn tons studying these things, and learn to separate what's right and wrong, and look at the whole thing, not only what is just in fashion. It's for you is to kind of lead and look at the whole picture, and kind of set the program or protocol, if you will, to really approach it from all different angles.
Yes, I felt though my training as a nutritional therapist, as a functional nutritional therapy practitioner wasn't enough. So I did go back for advanced training in a program called Restorative Wellness Solutions.
Mhm.
And I completed, there's many levels you can do. I completed the first level, which was Mastering the Art and Science of Gastrointestinal Health. I felt that no matter who was coming to me, which client was coming for whatever their needs were, I needed to have the digestion piece mastered. I really needed to understand that part to make progress with all people. So much of our immune system resides in our gut. The vagus nerve connection, which is the brain and gut connection, was such a crucial piece for people, especially dealing with the nervous system disorders and emotional wellness, depression, dopamine, serotonin, all those things are related to the gut. So I really felt like I needed to have additional training to understand that completely and be prepared for whatever condition was being brought to me. So that was a really important part to my practice that I do now, is that I can run stool test evaluation. I never thought that talking with people about their poop would be part of my life, but it's
Oh, well,
become,
yeah.
you can tell so much. And of course, people kind of squirm and they don't really like to talk about that. But I think once they realize, you can tell a lot by looking at what's in the toilet about your health, that the curiosity really kind of happens for them. That's part of that food mood journal I have them complete is, what does your stool look like? What
Yeah.
kind of a bowel movement are you having? Because that tells us a lot, especially with regard to what you've eaten and then how you're feeling digestively afterward. Food intolerances, that was something I also learned as a restorative wellness practitioner, is what a role food intolerance, not necessarily food allergies,
Right.
which are typically a protein source, but food intolerances that anyone can have from any food. And that's created by leaky gut, which is another like big term that we see now coming out more and more in the public, especially social media,
Yeah.
is leaky gut. And that's where your intestinal integrity, that really tightly knit, closed tissue opens up a little bit because of environmental factors, because of stress, because of various reasons. Antibiotic use is a big one that just really kind of opens up those tight junctions to allow food to go out into the bloodstream. Your body doesn't like that. It feels like it's an invader, so it'll start attacking it.
And it's
Food,
toxic, isn't it?
that's right. Yeah. And really, I believe is the beginning of autoimmune disorders is when that's happening. And it's your body doing what it should. It's attacking something that is in a place it shouldn't be. Everything should be kept inside the digestive tract. So once it starts leaking out into the bloodstream, it's a whole different ballgame for people. So really finding those foods that are irritating the gut, keeping them from actually healing, removing them temporarily. It doesn't always have to be forever. I don't want to be the person that takes away everything that they love.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, it's just a temporary thing until we can actually get the gut sealed.
And
And
healed again. Yeah, yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fascinating how people are what I'm thinking when you talk about that questionnaire that you have them take, it also teaches them to listen to their body and pay attention, to be aware what certain things do to you and how you feel afterwards. And it's not just seeing patterns in what they actually consume, but how their body respond to it. And I think that's a big part of it. We are not quiet enough during the day to actually pay attention to our body, or never take the time, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's part of why I'm healthy intuitive, because I want to help people go back to intuitive eating and intuition, listening to their bodies. I myself was very numbing and masking symptoms and really just ignoring it and getting through um, feeling bad.
Mhm.
And I want to help people realize that we don't have to live like that, that you can tell a lot about really what is bothering you, what you shouldn't be eating, what you shouldn't be doing, just by taking a moment to actually tap into yourself, listen to what the body is yelling at you,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And just your innate ability to heal yourself just by taking a moment to listen to what's going on inside.
The tendency is to just put the duct tape over it and
Right.
don't
The
bother
quick
me.
fix, the quick
Yes.
fix or the
Yeah,
masking. I was told that when you're given a prescription medication, it isn't because you have a deficiency in that
exactly.
antacid or whatever. It's like it's just the Band-Aid. So you really need to find the root cause. Hence the digestive detective, because I'm just
Yeah.
really curious and wanting to help people. Let's figure out your root cause. What is the reason? It can be multiple things. Typically, it isn't just one thing. It's
Mhm.
looking at the big picture.
Problem that we all see in this space is that we put a band-aid over it because it's easy and quick. But what it does, it really just maybe lower the numbers on the blood test, or it removes you feeling certain symptom, but it doesn't take care of the problem.
Right.
And many people don't even realize that. They think they take medication for sight, so they are healthy now. And it's it's unfortunately the opposite of it, because many, as we age, we are on more medications, and usually if you are on more than three, those new ones are because of the first ones that you started taking a few years ago. They created new issues in the body that has to be addressed, and it's really vicious cycle.
I really like to focus on prevention. That's just really, I think, the key to health is the prevention piece, so you don't have to get to that point. And even if you're
Right.
at that point, it's never too late to change. Many people start having to take less and less of medications or don't need them altogether once you can resolve the root issue
Mhm.
of why they're on the medication to begin with.
And how much really control you have over your own health when you
Right.
take that responsibility and start looking at it differently. Because the doctors are there to fix you or help you with the symptoms, but they are not necessarily responsible for your entire health and lifestyle. And it's our responsibility. And once people realize this and they start looking for solutions that may improve their health overall, then they don't need the doctor as much. It's the first step. That is the awareness and the kind of taking responsibility. I think it's big part. And when you seek for someone like Cindy is, that means that you took responsibility of your health and you realize you have control over, much more control than we were led to believe for years.
That's
So
right.
it's fascinating. And I'm so glad that people like you are there that can help and kind of guide you through the jungle of all that information that is out there that may not be always right, because anybody can write anything on internet, unfortunately. And
Yes.
it could be based on one personal experience and they think they are expert on it right now. So
Right.
it's really good to be, when it comes to health, it pays to actually do some research and work with someone who knows what they are talking about.
And I don't have all the answers either.
Right.
I am a constant student. I'm always taking classes,
Mhm.
webinars, things to improve what I'm doing, learn more. Um, I just completed a 3-month course on detoxification of the gut, and I didn't realize how much mold and heavy metals and environmental factors can play a part in fully healing.
Mhm.
So some people could get to a certain point, but they haven't fully resolved their issue because you haven't addressed these things that could be keeping them from
Yeah,
full health resolution.
exactly.
So I just always feel like being open, being willing to listen and testing the science, as they say. It's what you're supposed to do. It's never supposed to be stuck in stone. It should always be challenged and questioned and
Yeah, because we are also not the same. We all have different combination of issues possibly in different age and lifestyle. And so one glove doesn't fit all. And you need to explore different avenues and figure out, but why not start with the safest one, as adjusting your lifestyle and food you eat, as opposed to trying to throw medication at it that causes new problems. And it's all of it is toxic. Every single medication has side effects. and they can interact with each other, create whole new issues. So it's,
Right.
for me, it's always, and I think many more people are realizing this, that it's really important to seek the natural way first before we have to resolve into it. Should be the last resort to
Mhm.
go to really throw medication at it, or go for surgery or something like that. There's so much more in our control that we can do first before it gets to that point, because all of that involves risks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so many of the prescription medications are depleting our nutrient levels in our bodies that people don't realize also, or they're taking a combination of prescription medications together they shouldn't be, or simply not eating when they take them first thing in the morning and drinking
Mhm.
coffee with their first pill. And that really can affect your gut tremendously.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do work with most people that come to see me are on medication. So it's how to optimize what are you taking? What
Mhm.
shouldn't you take with your medications? Consuming food to make sure that it's absorbed, that it's actually absorbed,
Yeah.
and it isn't causing you more reflux. So there's lots of the side effect type of things can be resolved just by taking medication properly or supplementing the magnesium, which is very commonly depleted. Same with B vitamins, which are your energy source and
Mhm.
how you're digesting and
Yeah.
absorbing food. So just looking at those things, which conventional medicine doesn't really get a chance to do. My initial consultation is 90 minutes. That's a lot of time. Typically, you go see a doctor, you get 15 to 20 minutes at most.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like getting to know the person, letting them have a chance to tell me their story, why they're there to see me, what their concerns are, puts them at ease, but it also gives me the opportunity to figure out what my approach is going to be and what's going to be safest for them, because that is my main concern is I want people to have a good experience with me. I don't want them to have reactions negatively, um, or physically feel bad because of what I've suggested for them. I
Mhm.
want it to be a good experience. And it's usually very small amounts of things. That foundational piece that I was talking about is looking at their food journal and by the health questionnaire, are you meeting these hydration pieces? What are the fats that you're consuming? Are you eating vegetables even?
Mhm.
Um, and that really, I think, is a good approach for just about anyone who comes to me because it's safe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I certainly hope that anyone listening that is considering that they may be looking into what is food doing to in their body, if they are not feeling entirely right and they may not have the answers from regular doctors, that they will take a time and reach out to someone like Cindy. If she resonated with you, she will definitely take the time to evaluate as a good detective where the problem can be, and then you will work together to address whatever needs to be addressed and figure out what is the best way forward. So it's not twisting anybody's arms or putting them on super restrictive stuff. It's more to figure out what works the best for you and your lifestyle and your health, most importantly, because we really have only one health, unfortunately, and we
That's right.
can easily mess it up.
Yeah.
There's one situation when usually even people that are on very healthy diets and lifestyle face challenges, and that's when they travel. And it's you may be doing your home cooking and everything, and now you are traveling, so you have hard time to find food that resonates with you and that is fitting into your diet. And I understand you have a program for that.
I do. After personal experience with being ill while traveling abroad, I thought, what a wonderful opportunity. It became something that I started with just casual social media from my own personal sharing to a program that I developed for people.
Mhm.
So they come to me, again, filling out a few questionnaires. It isn't quite as intense as some of the programs I offer, but really looking at what kind of medications you're taking. So whatever I suggest is safe that way.
Mhm.
But looking at prevention. So not just while you're there, but what can you do to prepare yourself before you even go? Some tricks for optimizing your travel. I look at locations they're going to, environmental factors that might take precedent. If you're swimming, where are you swimming? It's like looking at safe places to go, exploring some, for people who have dietary restrictions, giving them a list of places that they can eat or encouraging them to do that. Do a little
Wow.
bit of research before you go to find places that actually will provide safe choices for gluten-free. It's becoming more and more popular worldwide, I find, and there's lots of ways to search gluten-free restaurants to make sure that you're not having that cross-contamination that can happen where they say, oh, well, yeah, this is gluten-free, but it's cooked in the same
Yeah.
places where gluten is and can affect people. Looking at, is there a grocery store to go to? Do you have a kitchen where you're staying? Is it a condo? Is it a hotel? Um, Food borne illness, such a big factor in waterborne illness. Are you going to a place that's known to
Could be
have
issue.
issues
Yeah.
with that?
Mhm.
And what can you do when that happens to you? Immune supportive pieces and supplements. So I provide all these suggestions to them, and then they can order them on their own or through my virtual dispensary through FullScript, which is a really nice piece that I've added to my practice. So
Mhm.
people can take a look at what I'm suggesting on this virtual dispensary, and it gives a description of what the product is, some contraindications of who it might not be good for, and how to take it.
That's
So,
fascinating because what you just said, it's really the level of preparedness so you don't have to stress out while you're somewhere supposed to enjoy yourself because your dietary needs are not met by the local availability of certain foods or something like that. This is huge, and I think that's what a brilliant idea.
I think people's anxiety level about traveling goes down tremendously and they can
Yeah.
actually enjoy themselves. And just the opposite, finding places, if they do have a local food store, a pharmacy, or a natural grocery store that they can go to find things so they don't have to bring everything in the kitchen sink with
Yeah.
them on their trip.
Mhm.
And so really just feeling prepared, educated, and empowered, which is a big thing no matter what people are coming to see me for, that's how they feel. Because I think the stress level comes down and
Yeah.
they
And
enjoy that piece.
I would encourage people to enjoy themselves when they travel.
That's right.
Because I have experienced something that was so sad for me to see when I still lived in Czech Republic, and Prague is one of the most culinary diverse places. There's every cuisine you can imagine, exquisitely fabulous restaurants. And I would meet Americans who would come to Prague and they will go to McDonald's because that was the only thing they know. And they were confident that they can eat, even though they don't eat it while being in America. And it was just absolutely fascinated to me because why do you travel if you don't want to explore the local foods? And you don't have to, if you are not familiar with the cuisine, you can go to different there Italian restaurants, Mexican restaurants, all the everything that you're familiar with. I think it's a big part of the stress level and anxiety about travel. Also allow yourself to experience and explore, and you can always make choices that are healthier than others, and be prepared. It starts with the like airplane food. Like we always complain
Right,
about that.
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I definitely help people maybe choose some healthier options and some snacks to have with them.
Mhm.
And the majority of the supplements and things that I suggest are all travel friendly. They're all going to be the size that's required if you want to carry on um, items, and just so they can be submersed, just like you said, so they can have the full experience when they get there. It's like you're not going to be sick once you land because you didn't have to eat the airplane food that they gave you.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe you did a good example is like a nasal spray. Do a nasal rinse when you get off the plane and you've gotten to
Mhm.
your hotel. Everything is absorbed and you're breathing in through your nose and through your mouth. So doing something simple as a nasal flush can
Yeah.
really help with preventative things. So you're not sick for the entirety of your trip.
I know, I know. Well,
You focus on
that comes
enjoyment.
handy. We have a new year, beginning of new year. You will make travel plans for summer, and hopefully, you can take away some of these really fabulous tips, because I like I'm obsessed with healthy food. I never really take time to prepare before travels to do things that you just mentioned, and I'm like, yeah, and then you are surprised and you have to run around and find place that would satisfy your needs, and it adds to stress and takes away from the relax and experience that you should be enjoying yourself with.
That's right.
Yeah. This was absolutely fabulous to learn from you and really explore what you actually do for people. If there was one thing aside the water that you mentioned before that people can start on their own to really start changing things around and maybe take more charge of their health via what they eat, would there be something simple that you may maybe recommend to part ways with?
I think the most important piece is that mindful eating, I call it. And I'm actually teaching a class about it right now to the public because I do think it is such an important piece. Again, it's not necessarily always the focus about what you're eating, but how you're eating it. So
Mhm.
taking a moment and getting yourself in that parasympathetic, that relaxed state so digestion can happen. Slowing down, taking a breath before you even take a bite of food, um, even just looking at it, smelling at it, using that sensory experience to prepare the brain that it knows we're getting ready to eat,
Mhm.
slowing down. We're just such a hurried society, and eating has become kind of the secondary thing. It should be first.
Yeah.
Being focused, being relaxed, and chewing your food, which most people do not and don't realize taking 4, 5 chews and swallowing is not going to be good for your health. It doesn't matter how wonderful that broccoli is and how nutrient dense that food is. If it's not chewed well, it's not going to digest well.
Mm.
So definitely that mindful piece of slowing down, taking a breath, giving thanks for the gardener who grew your food or the fish that, gave its life for you to eat it. It sounds kind of corny, but really just making that mental connection about what you're about to consume is all part of the digestive process before you even take that bite.
I think just simply enjoy what you're eating would
That's
be,
right.
would be wonderful, wonderful start for people.
That's
Because,
right.
like you said, like we eat so mindlessly sometimes. It's unfortunate because it may take a lot of time for someone to prepare it, to make sure that it tastes right, and the little thing we can do is to be appreciative and really sit down, appreciate the flavors, how the plate looks like, how it tastes, and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate your time and your wisdom shared with people that are listening. And I just hope that whoever may have some troubles around these areas that we talked about, that they would reach out and learn more about what it may look like to work with you. This is Cindy Wiedoff as a digestive detective. She owns Healthy Intuitive Nutritional Therapy. And of course, like always, I will I will share all the links to her website and how to connect with her on in our show notes. So you don't have to write anything down. And I just want to thank you so much for your time today. It was very
Thank you.
pleasurable. And let's hope that we take this revolution as far as we can, because we have so much control over our health in our hands.
Yes, I'm very passionate and enthusiastic about what I do and have a real positive outlook at the changes that we can make to make people healthier and happier as a result.
I think it's what matters most. Everybody say, I wish you good health, but we are kind of taking it for granted until we deal with something serious.
Right.
And so it's the last thing you think about, but it's the only thing you think about when you don't have it. And
Exactly.
so it's important to not to let it go to that point and really start thinking seriously about what we are doing to our body, expecting it to work 100%, and do our part to support it.
Yeah. You get out what you put in. So
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Cindy. This
thank
was
you.
fun, and I really want to thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.